Welcome to a workday in my life as the head of product for a fintech startup. If you are new or you're just stumbling upon my channel, hello, my name is Anika. I live in Melbourne, Australia, and I'm going to be taking you along a typical workday working from home in a fairly chaotic startup environment. I'm going to be taking you through my entire workday and sharing with you as much as I possibly can around the responsibilities that I have, the type of tasks that I'm doing, why I'm doing those tasks, how I'm doing them, who I'm working with, etc. Of course, I can't share anything confidential or too sensitive, but I will try and share as much as I possibly can to make this really meaningful and useful for you if you have ever been curious about how a product role differs when you are in a really small team building products that are really young and in some cases from scratch. And in case you are new to the channel, hello, I make content about all things productivity, tech, careers, running, so a little bit of lifestyle, working in startups, side hustles, that sort of thing. So if that sounds like something you are interested in, then please stick around. I have made plenty of work days in my life before, but I did that when I was working in a big tech company. So I actually haven't spent a lot of time sharing with you guys how my work and my days have changed since moving into a startup environment and in a different sort of capacity given the role that I now have.
So the fintech actually has 3 different products under 3 different brands. One is a digital payments app. The second is a digital gift card or loyalty solution. And the third is a banking as a service platform.
So it's about 9:30. I've already done my usual morning routine. So I've had some quiet time. Obviously I got changed, I caffeinated, I went for a walk, and I'm ready to get stuck in for the day because I've actually got quite a lot to do. So I usually start by writing my big chunky list of things that need to get done for the day. I don't have any magical system for how I manage my work to-do list because I've tried it all and I just love pen and paper, and I'm okay with things being really scrappy because things change day to day in a startup. And I've tried having a Kanban board in Notion. I used to write a big list on my notes app, but I found that it's really helpful for me to start with a new list on a fresh piece of paper every single day. And then I also use that page to write any notes that I have from the day, brain dump, sort of scribble throughout the day. And I find it really useful to jog my memory. So I've really stripped back how I manage all of that. And yeah, I just write a nice clean to-do list every single day and I've been absolutely loving it. So I'm gonna do that now and then I'll give you a rough idea of what I will be spending my time on today. I've got my list and I actually think it is very, very achievable. So before I go through it with you, I do just have a message from someone in the team who wants to jump on a quick Slack huddle. So I'm gonna chat to him first and then I will catch you up on what we're doing for the rest of the day. Turns out my colleague is actually now on another call, so we will chat when he's free. Let's talk about the things that I need to get done today. So I need to make some tweaks to a sales deck, which we will be sending out to a couple of prospective customers. We generally try to customize each deck to the industry or the company or the specific pain points or use cases that they have. So while it's typically not a lot of work, we still do like to make sure we go through our sales decks to make sure that it's very obvious to the prospective customer how the product could be used in their particular context. So just about some language changes, some wording changes, and of course just doing a once over and adding any new assets or updating any content, like our pricing, for example, was recently changed. So just making sure that that is reflected. Next, I need to investigate a customer problem. Our customer support team discovered this. Our development team has done some investigation. They cannot replicate the issue. So I need to just see if I can help resolve that. There's a few tasks that I need to do that some of our vendors are waiting on. So one of our vendors is a card scheme. So we work very closely with them to make sure we can actually issue cards. So I need to complete some documentation that they need to keep progressing with our onboarding process with them. I'm also currently going through the Google and Apple Pay onboarding process, which has been very, very good to go through because I've learned so much about what it entails. I'm currently at the step with the Apple Pay process where I need to action something. So I need to review some documents and then send those back to Apple to keep the ball rolling on that. I've got a few admin tasks to do, like pay some invoices, set up a few calls for next week with our development team to start scoping for the next phase of our roadmap, I guess. So we've done some high-level scoping already, but we did do that quite a few months ago. So I need to book in that session because once it's booked in, then I can work back from that and actually spend quite a bit of time doing detailed scoping for the next phase of that work. This is a nice to do for today, but I do think I can get it done. I want to write a blog post or a newsletter that we can send out to our customers for one of our products. And last but not least, this is a bit of a mini project, but I do want to do a little bit of work on this today. We're starting to prepare ourselves for what we need to do in order to expand to other markets internationally. And these things take time, but first and foremost, you need to get a really good understanding of what the requirements are for us to be able to expand internationally. I'm currently looking at one particular part, how we can work with one of our vendors to expand internationally. And it's a bit of a new space for me. So I've got quite a bit of reading to do on that. And then I can figure out what the next steps are. So yeah, that is my to-do list for the day.
Now you'll notice I don't have a whole lot of meetings on my calendar, and that is the way I like it. There are 3 rules or principles now that I try to follow when it comes to meetings. First is to stack meetings across 1 to 2 days of the week, if possible. This is possible for me on most weeks, but of course there are weeks where it's not. Tuesdays for me are usually the busiest meeting day of the week, and then usually a Thursday afternoon as well. Number 2 is to leverage asynchronous tools and ways of working. I think we underestimate how much you can get done outside of meetings and then come together for a meeting in order to either make a decision, get to an outcome, to discuss and deliberate, or share some kind of information that cannot be effectively shared asynchronously. And number 3, protect your time based on how you work best. For me personally, I prefer to do meetings in the afternoons where I'm able to exert a lot more energy and interact with people at a higher energy level. Whereas in the morning, I prefer to do more solo work, more deep focused work, and I feel a little bit more introverted while I'm building up my energy like towards midday. Where possible, I will try and move meetings around to suit this. Of course, it doesn't always work, but it's really good to at least know where and how you work best.
Time to refuel, so I'm gonna have another coffee and make some oats as well. Hey Siri, start a timer for 10 minutes. Don't you love it when Siri actually listens to you on the first go? My current obsession is dates. I've been putting dates in my oats and in my smoothies, and I just can't get enough. Like, I look forward to eating this every single day. Try dates in your oats if you haven't. It's amazing. While I wait for my oats to cook, I thought we could chat quickly about my reflections on startup versus big tech. I have worked in startup before. In fact, I founded my own 2 startups previously, but that was a while ago. I have been in the big tech bubble for about 5.5 years before this job. And my thoughts stepping out of that is, damn, it was such a bubble. And I had an incredible experience working in the big tech company that I was in. We were building products at such immense scale. I got to be a part of building and designing teams and organizations within the company. I only had the most incredible experience. But in terms of the actual product work that you get to do, I mean, everything is very structured. And what I really love about what I'm doing now is kind of just figuring out on a daily basis what on earth to do next. I love that ambiguity, and I love the uncertainty and unfamiliarity. But I think especially in a startup where you're trying to build things from scratch, you're trying to build things in new and innovative ways, you really are even more so trying to figure out how to do something. There is no playbook. There is lots of inspiration and lots of references you can look to, but ultimately there's no set playbook. So yeah, I'll share with you guys later on some of the things that I have spent time on this year that I've never really done before, that really stretched me out of my comfort zone, but also forced me to learn a new skill set. And I can't imagine getting exposure to doing this kind of thing had I stayed in the big tech bubble. So oats and black coffee have been my staple recently. I am currently training for a marathon. Did you really think I was gonna make it through this video without dropping in that I'm training for a marathon? No. Oh, I just missed a Slack huddle while I was making my oats, so I'm just gonna talk to my colleague super quickly. Hi, sorry, I was making some food. Oats. How's your call?
Next, I am batching admin or other really small tasks that I have to do, like investigating the customer query, paying some invoices, even scheduling some sessions that I need to do for next week. And I find this really effective to stack small tasks together and smash them out in like half an hour, rather than sprinkling them throughout my day, because it's just a bit of a distraction otherwise. I've ticked off 4 things on my list, so I'm very happy about that. It's a good start to the day. I am kind of going against the grain of general advice that you get around do your deep work first. Do the most important and most challenging, hardest task first. I am going against that because I've just ticked off lots of small things. But for me personally, having small wins helps to build momentum, and momentum is everything to me with anything that I do in life on a daily basis, weekly basis, big goals, small goals. I need momentum, and the best way I can build that for myself is just by doing sometimes the smallest thing. I just have to be mindful of not letting ticking off a few small things make me feel like I've really accomplished something, because I haven't. I still have really high value things to do, but it just helps get the ball rolling for me, which I am all for. So I thought I would just share that because I think you just got to find what works for you. And sometimes a lot of the advice and techniques and tips and tools that are shared, it works for others, but it doesn't work for you. And that is totally fine. It's somehow 1 o'clock, but I thought I would share with you what I am doing now in regards to the Apple Pay documentation. This has been an absolute eye-opener for me to understand how the world of digital payments works, but the process of going through Apple and Google Pay is like a whole other world of its own. And unless you need to go through it, I can't imagine why anyone would know what it entails. But there's basically 2 different paths that you can take, or you have to take with Apple or Google Pay, or even Samsung Pay, any digital wallets. Basically, one is if you have an app and you want to support Apple or Google Pay, then you have to go through an approval process with Apple and Google. It essentially involves demonstrating to Apple and Google how the provisioning and use of a card in a phone actually works. So making sure the phone can be added to someone's wallet, what is the messaging and the terminology being used to prompt a user to add that card to their wallet, going through like a 2FA process sometimes. If you're setting up a card for the first time, what does the 2FA process look like? How do you remove a card from your wallet, etc. A whole flow that you have to build and then submit to Apple and Google, and then they will approve it. And it has to be approved before you can publish your app on the App Store or like the Google Play Store. So that is if you are simply wanting to support Google and Apple Pay with your
with your app. Now, if you are a company who actually issues cards, then you have to go through a totally separate process, which is called a partner onboarding process. So this gives us the ability to actually enable other businesses or enable other apps to have Google and Apple Pay. So ultimately there's Google and Apple Pay, there are card issuers, and then there are the businesses or the apps that actually want to make those cards available to their users. So for us, we're actually doing both of those paths. We are a card issuer, so we want to make sure that we onboard as a partner to Google and Apple in order to be approved and be able to provision cards. But we also have our own app which has Google and Apple Pay. So something really key to my role now is working very closely and managing our vendors, because a lot of our vendors are very closely related to our product's functionality and our product development. That's why I'm very, very involved. We do have some other vendors that are maybe more compliance and risk related, maybe more operational and not actually providing us functionality that needs to be built into the product or integrated with. I'm not as involved with those. But yeah, anything very closely to do with the actual product is what I'm looking after. So there's a pretty lengthy process that you have to go through in order to be approved by Apple to be a card issuer, as well as to be able to have Apple and Google Pay within your app for users to use. Everything is done through a dashboard, which is really, or like a portal, I guess, which is really nice. We've already been navigating this for a couple of months. We had to go through a process where you have to go through like an initial questionnaire where you share how your business works, what the business is, why you want to issue cards, the type of cards you're issuing, the sort of volumes you might have, what your marketing and launch plans are, those sort of things. And then Apple will ask a bunch of questions. You go back and forth to explain to them exactly what you're building and why you want to support Apple Pay, all these sort of things. They then also review your screens and like your app's user flow as it pertains to the setup of a card. And then once that's all good, they send you an agreement that you have to sign. And it's only after you sign this agreement do you get access to all of the APIs, I think, because I haven't got to that point yet. That's when you get access to a lot of the APIs that you need in order to actually integrate with Apple Pay. So I have spent a bit of time reviewing that agreement, and I am now just sending that back to Apple. Half an hour later, I'm still stuck on this Apple documentation thing, something that I really didn't think would take so long. I'm just stuck in a bit of a rabbit hole of pulling up like old Apple documents, having to put in specific dates of when we previously signed stuff. Yeah, just like really nitty-gritty details. And it's worth investing in doing this properly now, because there's always a 24-hour delay with working with a lot of these vendors because they're all based in other countries. So if I get this wrong, then Apple will tell me tomorrow that I got it wrong, then I'll have to re-upload it, so on and so forth. So even though it's taking me longer than I would like, I'm trying to make sure I do it properly now. I wish there was a way in Google Docs to search for fields that had been highlighted. That would be very helpful. Because this document is 144 pages long, and I have to scroll through every single page to make sure I filled in all the placeholders. It's just about time for our stand-up. So I'm going to go to that now, and then straight after stand-up, I have the meeting with our development team to go over some user experience flows for one of our apps. So that's going to be the next hour, and I'm making pretty good progress on things. I really want to spend maybe from 3 to 4 o'clock writing the blog post. Hello, not too bad. How are you guys?
Yeah, not too bad.
Guys, I'm on an absolute roll. I have ticked off so many things from this list, and I actually thought of a few other things I had to do, which I have progressed as well. I'm not going to add them to the list, but I've done those. Something about the startup space that I'm in at the moment is that there are a lot of dependencies. Fintech, payments, banking, financial services. It's a very complicated space where you can't necessarily do everything on your own. And so you do rely on external organizations, external vendors. In some cases, you rely on to progress with what you want to do. And often there is a sequence of events that needs to happen, and you need one thing to be ticked off before the others can flow. And so getting this Apple documentation done is huge because it means we can get another thing with another vendor rolling. So I've just followed up with them and said, hey, we've done XYZ. Let's please initiate the process to do this other thing. One thing I wanted to share with you is how I've been using focus modes on my phone. I'm really behind on utilizing focus modes, but I set them up about a month ago and they have been incredible for my day-to-day productivity as well as just managing the phone being a distraction. So currently I'm in my work mode. Basically what I've done is for each mode, I only have certain apps that are available. So on my work mode, I have my email, I've got my Slack, I've got the Google Authenticator app, I've got ChatGPT, and I've got my Notes app. And then I've got Notion, the camera, and Spotify and messages, which I always have. And of course my calendar. I'm a very visual person. And so I've got an image in the background that really inspires me every time I look at it. These are the other modes that I have. So sleep, driving, chill, and fitness. I love the fitness one because it automatically turns on when I arrive at the gym. So this is what my fitness mode looks like. I've got my Apple Health tracker. I've got my Strava widget. I've got the Heavy app and YouTube because I do often watch YouTube at the gym. And thought I would just share that with you because it's been a really nice little addition to my productivity routine. And I highly, highly recommend you utilize focus modes because it's a great way to minimize the distractions on this thing. And another technique is obviously just to leave it outside of the room. But let's be honest, how many of us are really good at doing that? Okay, I'm gonna grab another snack for the rest of the afternoon to power me through some high-level scoping for the next phase of our product and then writing the blog post.
In case you can't tell, I thrive and absolutely love working from home, but I also know that I'm way too comfortable with it. And one of the challenges I have for myself at the moment is to get out of that comfort zone and maybe attend one external event a month or something like that, just to mix things up, push myself out of my comfort zone, and just make sure I don't get too accustomed a little bit too late to the work from home life. I genuinely feel the most productive when I am at home, and it really suits my energy levels the best. But I also know that it's not good to get too used to just one way of working, even though I'm pretty adamant that I will only ever do a remote job going forward. But let me know in the comments what your working situation is. Is it full-time remote? Is it hybrid? Is it in office? Are you a digital nomad traveling around the world? And what do you prefer? And how do you think this is going to change in the coming years?
highlight customizable gift cards, easy delivery scheduling, and the ability to take back unclaimed shouts. 4. Highlighting how easy it is to send a thoughtful gift.
So I've been working with my friend ChatGPT to draft a couple of newsletters. We also brainstormed some ideas, some different angles we could take. I also got ChatGPT to look at some competitors and their sort of language and tone and point of view in their newsletters. So I smashed that out while eating my lunch. It is currently writing me a draft of each newsletter, and I'm gonna then take this, put it into a Google Doc, and then build from that. But this is the kind of stuff I love ChatGPT for, is I don't have to sit there and write anything from scratch. I literally multitasked while I was eating lunch and had a full-blown conversation with this thing, which is, yes, admittedly quite scary at the same time. But you know, it's got the context of the business, of the startups, of the market, of the industry, because we've conversed many times before this. And so we can kind of just pick up where we left off. And yeah, great way to be more efficient. I like using my phone for the voice conversation with ChatGPT. And then once that's done, I just go onto the web version and move over whatever I need to into like a Google Doc or something. So someone on the team just shared an article that was published in Australian Fintech on a really interesting looking product that is in a similar, if not sort of parallel niche to us. So I'm just reading, researching, learning about that. I'm just downloading their app as well to give it a whirl. I mean, this is super important for any product marketing, especially founder, so many roles. Like, you need to be on top of what is happening in the market and what others are doing, not necessarily from a you need to know what they're doing so you can beat them, but to get ideas, maybe there's partnership opportunities. It's always good to know. We have a research channel in Slack where we share articles all the time. And this is a really good example of someone sharing something interesting that I am now going to suss out. My product and tech brain immediately always goes to, okay, how does this actually work? Like, as soon as I read the website, I'm immediately trying to figure out how their solution has actually been put together. Currently giving ChatGPT some feedback to further refine the draft newsletter. I love how ChatGPT can now read files from your Google Drive. It is life-changing. Somehow it is already 5:30 p.m. so I am gonna wrap up my work day as well as this video here. If you got this far, thank you so much for watching. I really enjoyed having you here because it really helped me to focus and actually get quite a lot done. Not every day is like this. There are some days where I have lots of ad hoc things come up, where I have impromptu meetings or something urgent happens, or we have to suddenly respond to something urgent, or a customer like prospect comes up that we need to urgently send something to. So today was very much a day where everything went to plan, and it certainly isn't mostly like that. But I do hope I was able to show you the variety of work that I am currently doing. It's been really enjoyable to move away from just purely defining the product and working with engineering. It's been really cool to work a lot more closely with external vendors, to get involved in sales. I was particularly someone who didn't believe that products should be involved in sales, but
when you work in a small team, you have to be hands-on with anything and everything that needs to be done. And that is truly a huge aspect of my job right now that I absolutely love. So while my role might be head of product, I'm really doing whatever needs to be done. That's assisting with sales, that's getting involved with marketing, obviously still working with engineering and defining product and things like that. But problems come up, things need to be done, and you kind of need everyone to jump on it. I'm going to get changed for the gym because I am currently training for a marathon, the New York Marathon, in fact, which is only a few weeks away. I've got a easy workout today because it is now tapering season, which is really nice. But yeah, that also really motivates me to try and get as much as I can done during the workday, because the majority of my evenings are for rest or for doing my side hustles or for training. So yeah, thank you for keeping me productive today. Thank you for keeping me focused. I hope today showed you that product work is so much more than just defining features. In fact, defining features is probably like 10% of what I do now. Defining the features is actually the easy part. It's everything else that's really challenging. How do you grow the product? How do you price the product? How do you distribute it? What's our sales process? How do we manage our sales pipeline? All of those things have to do with product. The product is more than just building it and building the features. I really want to demonstrate more of that in these videos, because I think when especially you work in a big tech company, you are often working on a really small piece of the pie. And so naturally you tend to focus on the product definition and working with engineering. And I really think it's important to get exposure to all aspects of the business, because ultimately that is what makes a good product leader and good product person. It's so much more than just the features. I'm gonna go and do my workout. Thank you so much for watching. If you got this far, let me know if you enjoyed this, leave a comment, ask questions. I love hearing from you. And yeah, most importantly, subscribe and like, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Bye.